One thing that struck me too about or another thing I should say struck me about the platform was how conscious it was of intersectionality, particularly in terms of gender and sexuality, at
Yeah,
least in the and the policies that it lists end up, I think, dealing more with the question of class in sort of a maybe not direct way, but sort of but intersect with it in that way. I mean, what does
mhm,
that what does that say in terms of creating a powerful movement? I mean, I guess like. Is that
yeah,
I mean, I imagine. I mean, some of it is obviously just a certain amount of sensitivity, but I mean, included but not limited to those who are women, queer, trans, femmes, gender nonconforming, Muslim, formerly and currently incarcerated, cash poor, and working class, differently abled, undocumented, and immigrant. I mean, there's a real attempt
yeah.
here to sort of to drive a broader to broaden a movement. Are you there, Lester? Hello? Do we lose him? Let me call him back. Hello, Lester? Okay, we're just going to take a quick break. Sorry, folks. Yeah.
I could sleep, I could sleep, I could sleep, I could sleep. When I lived alone, is there a ghost in my house? I could sleep, I could sleep, I could sleep, I could sleep. When I lived alone, is there a ghost in my house? When I lived alone.
Hello, Lester?
What we're looking at, and yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is the Black Lives Matter activists recognizing that what it means to be black is far broader than just being, so police victims are predominantly male, right? And for the longest time, if you look at the leadership of like the civil rights or the Black Power movement, you're looking at a movement that was dominated by men. Even though women in a number of cases were the ones doing most of the work. And what we have now is a dynamic where people are realizing that there are a lot of black folk who are members of the of LGBT community that are actually catching hell, and not only catching hell, but they're taking leadership roles. There are a number of different ways in which folk who are black and Muslim are being subjugated, and any movement that proclaims to be about black people has to actually take into account all those different ways, all those different kind of ascriptive identities that black people have, and you can't just ignore them anymore. So I think that what they're doing on that line, on that end, is absolutely wonderful. To be fair, I believe that we should still be privileging class, because even if you take those individual ascriptive identities, people who are poor within those identities are going to have a far harder time, having decent lives than people who are not. But with that said, I think what they're doing represents a significant improvement upon previous generations.
So, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, it's basically the canary in the coal mine type of situation, being having an intersection of these different identities or experiences make you that much more vulnerable to anything that is happening within society, I guess.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Now, again, it gets kind of complicated, right? So, for example, when we talk about gender, often we're talking about the intersection between being black and being a woman. But being black and being a man and being black, it doesn't quite work the same as being a man in general, right? So even though black women are the fastest rising population in the prisons, by far the largest, by far there are far more black men in prison, and that has a significant effect on black men's income. That's not usually calculated when you look at data. Black men's employment level, when you look at data, we know that this stuff is going on in the schools, right? So with the zero tolerance policies affecting kind of men and women differentially. So yeah, it becomes complicated, but it's better to actually have that conversation than to work on the assumption that to be black automatically means you're talking about black men.
So what do you think happens next with this platform? I mean, the platform's out there. I mean, what's the next step in terms of implementing? I mean, or I guess building movements around these issue sets.
Well, so the next step I'd imagine would be, because Black Lives Matter is still kind of it's still really decentralized. So the next step will be on individual kind of cells of Black Lives Matter activists to take components of it, and try to implement them in their own communities. And then I'd imagine at some point in time, people who are working on similar areas in different places can lash their attempts up to try to get more of a national person.
Hey folks, Sam Seder here. I just got back from a company-wide meeting. Accounting is really coming down on me hard. We need to get to 100,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So please enjoy this channel. Subscribe right down there.